Part 7. The Grand Illusion. Siddhartha's Cosmic Vision. So, the Himalayas, right? This colossal mountain range, acting like a grumpy bouncer, slams the door between China and India. The warm, moist air from the Indian Ocean, full of good intentions, tries to waltz northward, only to be smacked down by the Himalayas. It ends up doing this frantic little dance within India, weeping torrents of rain and turning the subcontinent into a lush, waterlogged paradise. Meanwhile, the icy blasts from the north are completely stonewalled, getting shoved back and dumping their snowy baggage on the Chinese side, leaving it a parched, frigid landscape. Talk about a natural divide. India gets to luxuriate in endless rain and burgeoning agriculture, while China is left with, well, rocks and frostbite. This geographical generosity pretty much set the stage for India's agricultural jackpot. Naturally, the 2,700-kilometer-long Ganges River, the veritable Mother India, decided to set up shop here. Along its banks, the land was so fertile and the weather so cooperative, it was basically ancient India's all-you-can-eat buffet. With such an abundance of food, what else were these ancient Indians to do but get philosophical? Apparently, being well-fed leads to a lot of sitting around and pondering the big questions. You know, the usual. Who am I? Where did I come from? Where am I going? And what better muse for existential crises than the impossibly tall, shrouded in mystery Himalayas? These enigmatic peaks became the ultimate inspiration for their deep dives into the cosmic unknown. Given this ridiculously good setup, it was practically destined for some truly extraordinary individual to pop onto the scene. And pop they did, in a little kingdom called Kapilavastu, nestled in the Ganges basin. The king, by the name of Suddhodana, which conveniently translates to pure rice, a nice nod to the local abundance, belonged to the Kshatriya caste, the warrior aristocrat types, basically the ancient Indian equivalent of the it crowd, handling government and military affairs. Now, legend has it that the pregnant queen, out for a stroll under a sal tree, the sorrowless tree, how poetic, reached for a flower. At that exact moment, the baby, inside, perhaps catching a whiff of floral perfume, decided it was showtime. Born in the year 565 BC on April 8th, and to make sure this grand entrance was suitably epic, the ancient Indians spun a tale that the prince emerged from his mother's side, pain-free and bloodless. Forget you were delivered by the stork, this was more like you were delivered by divine decree with zero mess. This little prince, Siddhartha, was a miniature royal from the get-go. Sadly, his mother passed away just 7 days later. The aging king pinned all his hopes on his son, envisioning him as the next ruler. The clan's brain trust got together, and after much deliberation, christened the boy Siddhartha, meaning he who has accomplished all aims. By the tender age of 7, Siddhartha was already baffling the kingdom's best tutors with his unconventional questions. One day, witnessing a bird gobble up a helpless insect, young Siddhartha was so profoundly moved that he became melancholy, his smiles becoming a rare commodity. The king, beside himself with worry, pulled out all the stops to cheer up his future king. By 17, he was married to a beautiful young woman from a respectable Brahmin family. But even with such beauty before him, Siddhartha seemed utterly unfazed. His mind was consumed by the great enigmas. Why do we get born? Why do we die? Why do we suffer from illness and old age? Questions that, frankly, still stump us today. This introspective phase lasted for 2 years. Then, at 19, he and his wife welcomed a son, Rahula. But in the peculiar logic of ancient Indian thought, someone as pure as Siddhartha couldn't possibly engage in mundane conjugal relations. Thus, the myth of Rahula's virgin birth emerged. In reality, the relationship between Siddhartha and Rahula was probably more akin to mentor and student than father and son. And, as fate would have it, Rahula became one of Siddhartha's, and later the Buddha's, most cherished disciples. Every glimpse of a farmer toiling in the fields, every sight of a person succumbing to illness, tore at Siddhartha's heart. Finally, at 19, shortly after Rahula's birth, he made a momentous decision. He would renounce worldly life and embark on a quest for the ultimate cure to the sufferings of birth, aging, sickness, and death. The worried king, understandably, went into overdrive, stationing his royal guard, elephants, cavalry, chariots, and infantry at every turn to prevent his son's escape. Yet young Siddhartha, with the stealth of a phantom, slipped away one moonless night, vowing never to return until he found the ultimate answer.
Before his departure, Siddhartha shed all his worldly possessions, leaving behind his jewels and finery. Then, with a decisive snip, he cut off his own hair, symbolizing his severance from earthly attachments. He wandered far and wide, convinced that enduring extreme hardship was the direct path to enlightenment. For 6 arduous years, Siddhartha practiced asceticism, often going days without a single morsel of food, reducing himself to a skeletal figure, barely able to stand. One fateful day, seeking refuge from the scorching sun under the broad leaves of a Bodhi tree, Siddhartha had an epiphany. He realized that to find the path to liberation, he first needed to live. Starvation, he concluded, was not the answer. He began to eat again. His fellow ascetics, feeling betrayed by his apparent defection, angrily abandoned him. But Siddhartha was resolute. This Bodhi tree would be his final refuge, the place where he would either find the ultimate truth or perish. For 48 days, Siddhartha meditated beneath the Bodhi tree, his mind tirelessly wrestling with profound questions. What had once been impenetrable mysteries began to unravel piece by piece. Yet the final clues remained scattered like shards of a broken mirror. Then, on the 49th night, under a sky shimmering with silent, whispering stars, a brilliant flash illuminated Siddhartha's mind. The scattered insights coalesced. He knew. He had found the secret to ending all suffering. He had become Buddha, meaning the awakened one, the one who perceives all things clearly. From beneath that sacred tree, Siddhartha the prince became Shakyamuni, the Buddha, and walked into the world. Having attained enlightenment, Shakyamuni founded Buddhism, a philosophy that would echo through millennia. To truly understand how to alleviate suffering, he declared, one must first comprehend the nature of the world and the origins of that suffering. Shakyamuni envisioned our world as a small world within the vast cosmos, a realm illuminated by a pair of suns and moons. At its center stood the majestic Mount Meru, reaching impossibly towards the heavens, a cosmic echo of the Himalayas, perhaps. Ascending Mount Meru led to various celestial realms inhabited by gods and sages, with the highest being to see to heaven. Interestingly, later Chinese interpretations would place the philosopher Laozi in this celestial abode. Mount Meru was encircled by oceans, upon which rested 4 great continents where humans and animals dwelled. Purvadudaya in the east, rich in silver. Jambudvipa in the south, likely ancient India, producing lapis lazuli. Aparagodaniya in the west, yielding crystal. And Uttarakuru in the north, abundant in gold. These continents, along with Mount Meru, were supported by 4 foundational wheels: wind, water, gold, and the void, the 4 great wheels of the earth. 1,000 such small worlds formed a minor world system. 1,000 of those made a medium world system, and finally 1,000 medium world systems coalesced into a great world system. This grand structure, encompassing minor, medium, and great systems, was thus called the Triple Thousand Great Chiliocosm, a cosmic expanse that defied human comprehension. Perhaps drawing upon the ancient Indians' sophisticated understanding of mathematics, Buddhist cosmology fearlessly embraced big data. A unit of measurement for immense quantities, called an asankhya, is equivalent to 10 to the power of 56. To put that into perspective, the Earth's atmosphere, about 1,000 kilometers thick, contains, even under ideal conditions, a mere 10 to the power of 45 molecules, a pittance compared to an asankhya. And astonishingly, an asankhya isn't even the largest number in Buddhist cosmology. Consider the legendary tale of the chessboard to grasp the ancient Indians' mastery of big data. An Indian chess master presented his invention to the king, who was utterly captivated. When asked for his reward, the master requested a simple sum of grains, 1 grain on the first square, 2 on the second, doubling with each subsequent square for all 64 squares. The king, amused by this seemingly modest request, ordered his granaries opened. The result? Utter astonishment. Even the entire kingdom's grain supply wouldn't suffice. The king, faced with an impossible promise, was left to contemplate his options, perhaps a hasty apology or a swift execution of the chessmaster. Yet this unimaginably vast Triple Thousand Great Chiliocosm has a surprisingly simple origin. All is mind-made, declared Shakyamuni. Through the Buddha's wisdom, the interplay between the enlightened mind and the consciousness of all beings shapes the universe. To Buddha, the world was a pure land, but to sentient beings, it appeared filled with defilements. Thus, this vast cosmos became the grand stage for Shakyamuni's teachings.